on this exciting day when we have all the event tech leaders here and people associated with the industry looking at this leadership summit that we have curated. And I want to straight dive in with my first question. It's going to be a super fast round, given we're a little late, but we'll pack in the most content. I want to start with you, Mr. Davar. Earlier, I heard you when there was your presentation and you spoke about, the future of virtual events. Tell me, how do you see the relevance of virtual events growing by the day?
So I think more and more it's only going in the upward slope. See, I mean, what I said in the morning also, that marketeers have tasted blood, right? What's going to happen is that virtual events is solving a problem which is a decades long problem that live events could not solve, which is the problem of an ROI. Like I said in the morning, you could always tell that there are 5,000 people who have come at an exhibition, but how would you say that X people visited stall number one and Y visited people stall number two? Then after that, I feel that they are going to enter the marketing mix. I think we had a panel also on that, right? So up till now, I don't even think that we've just seen the tip of the iceberg, right? They are going to enter the marketing mix, right? Like the way social media entered up in the early 2000s, right? So that's how they're going to enter the marketing mix. And then I think it's going to explode, because then the possibilities and so many other things that's going to happen, it's going to be huge. So live events will come back, but I don't think that the virtual genie is coming back in a bottle now.
Right. To you, Mr. Pradhan, we have seen mushrooming of virtual platforms in the last 1.5 years. Where are we headed? Everyone claims to have the most distinguished features. Are we looking alike? Is there a fear of the sameness? Are we entering an era where we really don't know how to differentiate one from the other?
No, I think this is a positive sign where for the number of organizations that we have across the globe, sometimes it becomes necessity for companies to come up and showcase their services. For PGI, we have been here for the last 20 years, and as Dhruv said, that we were supporting our customers. Like just in 2020, we had about 170,000 virtual events. So when you look onto that perspective, that the sudden change in the requirement that has come in the last 2020, I think it has given a new perspective to the entire market space. From our side, I think it is good for marketers that today they have an option not to just run an in-person event, but they also can continue to host virtual events to actually communicate and create brand awareness. So I think as more and more service provider comes in, it becomes more optional for the customers, especially marketers, to showcase their product and services in this entire globe.
Mr. Agarwal, your reading of the last 1.5 years of this pandemic, this unprecedented opportunity that is there right now, is there a fear also that it might not be there once the events open up?
So one thing is very prominent, that virtual events are going nowhere. It needs to be made more of a value add. So as Dhruv also mentioned, that now it's gonna be a part of the various marketing mix is the first thing. And the kind of virtual events are happening right now. Now there needs to be a paradigm change which needs to take place, which gives a real value add to the user and an actual ROI to the exhibitor, or let's say a sponsor. So that is something needs to be worked upon, or that sort of an innovation is something which is lacking in the virtual event space, I can truly say. But if we say that it is going anywhere, so that's absolutely wrong. I think it has become a part of a marketing mix, or it has become a part of the marketing budgets. It is gonna be there at some or the other element for each and every other component, whether it's in a webinar format or any other format.
Right. Mr. Joshi, what is your experience of dealing with marketers been over the last, when all focus is on virtual platforms? Is that promise gonna stay? Right now, of course, all the buzz is around it. Is that promise going to stay? Your audio is muted.
I think more than virtual event, the idea of having a virtual strategy is very prominent for customers nowadays. And this virtual strategy could be anything. People are transforming their websites to become like a standalone virtual event because they want to entertain all their customers. And a huge problem is that everybody is sort of supplying a same kind of virtual product. I think it's time for businesses to think more creatively, align with their customers, learn what their exact problems are, and that is where value addition truly comes from. ROI obviously will happen based on value addition. So we need people to better understand and not copy each other. I think from there, the industry, Indian industry and the event tech industry will completely change, because we don't need to bind it inside the event arena. It can very well go. And a lot of our projects at Digital Jalebi started from an event. Now they have transformed into a huge, a full year level projects where we are developing experience centers, retail showrooms, just arena for people to come and collaborate with each other, learning centers. So I think it's time for us to think beyond event and look at how we support virtual strategy using the same tools.
So in my earlier panel with marketeers, there was one criticism of event tech platforms, and let's bring this, out and discuss right now. They said that, they're obsessed with the elements of a live event. You have a stage and you showcase it. It also shows lack of imagination. Though these are harsh words, but how do you defend it? I mean, this is going to everyone, but first with you, Mr. Davar, how do you defend this?
So I think it's an extremely valid point. I think the very simple answer to that is that the event manager inside of us has to take a back seat. There's no other way that we have to start thinking of us. In fact, Ruhail, I also have been seeing the summit the entire day, and I saw a lot of people who I have known have built a platform were talking too much about I don't know how many of I mean, it was more of a design presentation for me at a lot of times than to see the event tech platform. I've been seeing through the day. Everybody's talking about immersive. I don't know how many of these big buildings and other things that I've seen in the presentations today. What I again feel, and that's exactly what we're trying to do at Virtual Console, and I'm very thankful for a partner who is a very, very solid tech background, is that we are telling them we are enablers. And in the morning in my presentation I said, please look at platforms as venues and use your creativity. I don't think the platform owners or the CEO of a platform company needs to be that creative. I mean, that's just my view, right? You have to be creative in the technology, not in the design. Leave it to the agencies, leave it to the corporate marketeers. And I think what is happening, especially in India, and if you see through the day, most of the event managers have gotten into it, and it is dominated by an event manager's brain. Which is where the push on stage, which is where the push on immersive and all of that. I mean, ask yourself, is it scalable? How many designs are you going to create, right? So we have, we've really refrained from that. And at least at Virtual Console, we're really not trying to push that. In fact, because I've also run a live event company, in fact, sometimes there's been a push that, okay, push more for designs, because we're only selling technology. And I think, so to answer your question, I think we have to leave the event manager, home when we come to work. That's the only way to solve it.
Mr. Pradhan, your thoughts? How do we make that happen?
Now, we come across this question many a times, and if you see, many platforms has been built. Our platform has been there for 20 years now. So we have been a virtual dominator when it comes to the global attendance. One thing I really want to bring it here, which we have seen it. I don't know if this was brought, but when I saw in a couple of sessions, people were talking about designs and templates, and there are 3 points I want to raise here. One is certainly when you're choosing a platform, you need to see the scalability of the platform. It can go from 500 to 50,000. How is your global reach? When you the major difference that a marketer finds with the virtual event platform is to get participant across the world. Now with GDPR compliant and how you can scale, because I have seen that 70% of people usually after repeated follow-ups come back and registered on the last day, or they directly join. So is your platform scalable? Third thing, is user security. What we always believe that while you must be seeing the CISO investing a lot when people have started working from home and attending such kind of calls. User security and identity has become a big concern. As on today in India, there's 300 million ransom attack that happens every day, and it has been going since 2020. So as a fraternity coming from the virtual event platforms, it's our responsibility also to showcase the security layers that we can put across to ensure, because I don't think so marketing get deep into site to find out what type of security layers that you can put across to ensure that my user data and privacy is maintained. And what we ensure that with our API integration, we have built platforms which can directly go into the customer website, where they do not need to click any link. They can go to the customer website and just join from there. So, I think the design, there are thousands of designs that comes in, there are thousands of templates would come in. There are certain responsibility from our side also as a platform provider that we have to ensure that we give that confidence not to just the marketers, but the entire organization that we are serving.
Mr. Agarwal, how far do you agree that, it's just become a case of having these presentations only just the design bit, there's more to the imagination that can be done, when it comes to building event tech platforms. Do you agree to this?
So, Ruhail, it's very, very important that it's not only about the presentation and it's not only about the design theme. That's obviously the look and feel, the appearance, the experience. But at the core, there should be some or the other utility, right? When we say utility, if let's say I am attending an event or any particular person is attending a webinar or any particular thing, there has to be some or the other sort of a value add to that particular user. They're not coming here to see X or Y design or Z design, right? So yeah, designs and all those play a role at a certain tangent or at a certain space, but engagements have to be more, which makes me stay on the platform, which makes me, be there on the platform for an hour or for let's say 5 hours or 7 hours. So
right,
I feel the focus should be more on the engagement part, more on the part which makes customers stay on the platform.
Right. Mr. Joshi, how does the event guy in the tech guy take the back seat and deliver something which is compelling and the marketer has to definitely use it?
So I think the problem that Dhruv also raised about having a good tech guy and Mr. Abhishek also raised that security and making sure scalability is there, all very important. I think the problem is not with people and team. It's just that how marketeers, especially the client side marketeers, if their preference and entire focus is on the visuals and competing with the next platform that they saw somewhere online, then they will never ask the right questions. And if a client is not asking the right questions, you can't expect teams to evolve. So if I am starting a company in virtual tech event platform, do I have the correct team? I will not know because it's all new for a lot of people. It will only happen when the customers are also asking the right question. I see so many IT teams who don't understand IP address and very basic concepts of computing. And these are IT teams from a lot of huge companies. So I think this is more of an education that is happening, and it has taken time, good 18 months. But now customers understand what a scalability server, what the terminologies are, what are the concepts of having a good server, a scalable server. And I think in reflection to that, we will have much more evolved and better teams. They understand the idea of AI, how you can churn in data, how you can draw analytics, insights. So that is largely what's happening, and it's a transformation. We can't guide it, but we are just witnessing it right now.
Great. Mr. Davar, what is also happening in this space of virtual events is when you go to a marketeer, they of course would bet on the future of virtual events and won't deny it, but they won't shell out monies, dollars spent are lesser. They think that isme zyada kaam nahi hota hai, ghar baith ke dekhna. Is a little bit harsh, but is it a collective failure of the virtual platform industry that we are not able to impress upon the CMO that look, the dollars belong here and you better shell out? How do we make that happen?
See, I I partially, Ruhail, would disagree. I think if you see globally, uh, I mean, there are events happening which are literally going to the tunes of, $500,000 or even crossing $1 million, and that's a virtual event, right? I think it's about a value proposition. What you have to understand is that the entire space is a very, very new space. We're all of, I wouldn't even say 18 months, because the first 6 to 8 months we were all figuring out. So effectively the industry is about less than a year old or a year old. So we have to give our marketeers that time. See, I'll tell you what, right now the problem is that the marketeers don't know how to measure a virtual event, and that's where the big problem is. They do not have the know-how of, I mean, what's happening? We're doing an event. Like we did an event. I mean, I wouldn't name it, but we've done some big events wherein we had large turnarounds, right? But I know it for a fact that my client doesn't know what to do with the data. He's going to take the data, he's going to give it to the sales team. Okay, the sales team is going to make the calls, and in the hope that some leads get converted. So it's the same model that they're following, what they were following for a BTL activation, right? What they will start realizing sooner, that once we have started now, once after an event we say, hey, you know what, you asked for these analytics, we'll give you these more, right? So once now that they started realizing, right, they will take that time to start seeing the value that an event brings in. See, a design is not going to bring as much value as a data or an analytics will, and that's how you can demand money, because design, especially in India, it's almost like a commodity now. Everybody can make designs. It's very hard to charge a premium on design. In most of the cases, right? Unless you have a very specific event wherein the client wants it a certain way and certain people are involved. So it's going to be the data, and once the data and they start seeing the ROI, which right now they have a feeling, right? Everybody has a feeling. Virtual is a great ROI, right? Once they start seeing more value, the spends will increase. It will become a very structured spend, and I am all for it. And yes, the fact is, if you see also, are you comparing it to a live event? That's also a problem that we need to see. It's you can't do a 2 CR event every now and then in the virtual space. You don't have those many things that you're giving out, right? It doesn't cost you that much. So if you're comparing, then it seems a very lower number. If you don't compare, then I think the numbers are good. I think all the platforms are making margins because it's a technology that you're selling again and again. And once they start seeing the value, the spends will increase. There will be all kinds of events, and there will be those huge events which will, you will hear soon that we did an event for 5 CR, 4 CR, XCR, in India soon as well.
Mr. Pradhan, 4 CR, 5 CR on virtual. I mean, how do we bridge that? How do we leapfrog into that value add, for marketeers, people who are sponsoring such events, who want to spend more money on these events?
See, for us, I think what we have seen is, when we are talking about the events, the range that we have seen is from, I think, $1,000 event, and we have built a customer $1 million also in the last maybe 6 months. And when we are talking about in the last 15 years of our virtual event business, the amount used to look large for a customer earlier, but it took some time for them to realize. Now, for India specifically, I think it's more of a compressed or pushed service where they had to adapt it. But if you talk about the global customers who have global presence, they have been using these services. Spending 5 CR for a BFSI to reach 50,000 people, it's peanuts. And what they get is a brand awareness. And what is happening is, I would not say the problem with marketers in India. I think you have to understand the situation that it is a learning curve for them. They have been hosting on in-person events. Now they have been pushed to adapt technology. Now, will it take some time? Absolutely. They have to learn. They'll do 1, 2, 3. But then again, it becomes that what is their experience? How are they able to scale? If I'm just thinking, an MNC just thinking to do a separate event dedicated to India and a global, then it's not a problem, because for user, it has to be a single platform for users. I have seen marketers using, different platforms, which is scheduling for collaboration. That's not the effect that you can provide to your participants. And that's why one of the big reasons for such kind of a large event is that people don't stay is because they're used to that platform. They don't see engagements happening. I think it's not about the money. It's about the value that an organization has to see. And from our side, what we show is a value. Like, Nikhil raised about the IP addresses, and I can tell you that our platform has been so enriched and so scalable that a person doesn't need to worry about the IT structures, because we have got tech guys. But then until you don't align the marketing as well as the IT team in your discussion, the discussion will not take forward. They will not be able to understand the value proposition that the virtual platform provides. So these are a couple of things that we have to have discussion when we are engaging with our customers.
Mr. Agarwal, increasing the value proposition, what are you hearing from when you reach out to brands to spend and use platforms? What stops them from spending big?
So obviously, as we were discussing it before also, we are all talking about ROI, and we are planning to get ROI. Different platforms are trying to achieve an ROI thing. But the truth is, the organizers are really not getting an ROI. So I always, optimize and look forward to players like On24 and Cultura, which have been into this segment from years. They have been into the event space, virtual event space, and webinar space from last 10 years. And those, if we read those cases, they have case studies with the top clients they've been working in from last year, like 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, and are able to give an ROI. So right now that ROI is not being proved to the Indian marketers or to the Indian corporates or something which we are trying to cater to at majorly. So once that is proved and once they really, taste the success, I think that fear of not spending money or virtual event will obviously come out, and they will be able to do much more. And also another point which Nikhil also mentioned. So a lot of clients which were earlier doing 1 or 2 events are now looking at creating a virtual experience center, or let's say creating a platform which stays there for a year, right? Because a lot of cost gets involved in creating the whole thing, but rather than the whole server cost or whatever it is. So rather than having a whole event spending tons of lakhs of rupees just for a day or two and spending some more amount of rupees and having it for a year is a better opportunity, right? They have that as a marketing thing for them all throughout the year, and they can just push the link, and even if they're getting some more leads, if it's there for a year, it's a better plan for them. So those are the client mind and shift which is happening, and which is also good, right? So it's really time for all of us, and some good players and all of us. It could also be a possibility that some good players come up, work out together, and at least create a solution which is really getting an ROI. So whether you talk about the biggest players or small players, but I really feel that ROI factor in India, at least the players in India which are not able to achieve to that particular extent. So I would really feel that if we can do that, that will really make all these marketers come front and take the platform.
Joshi, your quick thoughts, and then I move to my final question.
Apart from all the other reasons, I think since there are so many players in the market, a lot of funded startups, and every day you are hearing people getting funded, I think they're disrupting this entire process for the larger and smaller players and players who are into custom events development, because funded companies are not looking at any kind of revenue. They're just looking for growth, and they will come into the market. They will, with funded money, they can actually hire a lot of people and build this platform. If we were able to build them in 6 months, they obviously can do that, and they will disrupt this entire costing and how you charge your customers. It's already happening. The client conversations that I see, people are preferring a platform which is only charging you $10 for an event a day, and we will never be able to reach those kind of numbers without funding. This is also something which is happening in industry right now.
My final question, we just have another 6 minutes left. Mr. Boss is here. Mr. Davar, tell me, once we talk about hybrid events and, live and virtual existing together, but do you think they will have equal share of voice? I mean, how do they have that balance? Isn't that skewed towards the live events more once it opens up, and the hybrid just, I mean, the virtual just becomes the surround sound that helps it. How do you make sure that the voice you have right now remains as bigger, as relevant once the live events open up?
I think it's a great question. Ruel, what I see is that the measurability has entered into events. What's going to happen is right now we have talked about how virtual events have been trying to ape live events. What I think is a part of it is going to also come on to the live events also once they open up. So, for example, there is something that I've been studying about. It's called an indoor positioning technology, right? So what happens is in which so just like how a virtual event can now tell you that your people visited stall A for so much time and etc etc. People are building a technology which is going to happen in the live events also. So if you have, let's say, you're organizing an exhibition, clients are going to soon start demanding, hey, do you have a technology which can tell me which stall or what was the heat map, if you can give me, of people, right? So I think the reverse is going to happen, and that's going to be very, very interesting phenomena. I think the second thing is that there is a lot, I mean, live event industry has existed for a while. Virtual is very, very new. So it's going to evolve at a very, very fast rate, again, because of, what we've seen, the value that you're getting and the ROI that you're getting out of a virtual event. So it's going to evolve and it's going to keep evolving. I feel a few years down the line, Ruel, probably when you'll have a third or the fourth summit, people will be talking about events, and there will be an assumption that it has a digital wing attached to it. There is a digital extension attached to an event. An event will not be complete without having both sides of it. Yes, which one dominates, it's completely going to depend upon your event objective. Some of the events will not have to take place as a live event, and I can very surely tell you that even after we're completely out of the pandemic, they will not go back there, right? What's also going to happen is, so if you have 100 rupees today as a marketer, you can probably do 3 live events, but in that 100 rupees, if you park 20 rupees aside, you can probably do 6 virtual events and 2 live events, so the numbers of live virtual events are actually going to increase as compared to the live events, and that's how at least we are looking at the industry going forward. So the voice is very much going to be there, and the events are going to take a very naturally hybrid mode, all of them.
Perfect. Mr. Pradhan, your thoughts?
DC hybrid events has been there for a long time. It's not something that is coming new. It is because of pandemic we are seeing that the percentage of live events was high. And as Dhruv said, that is there a technology attached to it where people can do that? We have been doing it. So for us, the hybrid mode is a welcome mode, where I think the growth and the integration, how do you do between a live event where an in-person event is happening and how you connect it with a hybrid, a virtual platform, is something that we have been doing it. So for us, it's not a new, but I think from the India perspective, I think today you have to understand the users' mentality, what is happening right now. People wants to get into a hybrid mode. Everybody's talking about work from home or a hybrid workplace. Similarly, a hybrid event has to happen. Now it becomes equally important for virtual platform providers to start looking forward as to how they can support a virtual as well as a live event. Because if you do not have that synergy, it's gonna give 2 different experience. Now either people will move directly onto virtual, or everybody will move into in-person event. So the synergy has to be absolutely fantastic for participants to either take a virtual event or do the same event in person. Because at the end, marketers are looking for participation. And that is where, as a platform provider, we have to provide the platform in that scenario.
Great. Mr. Agarwal, and then to Mr. Joshi. So, a lot of events that used to go live might not happen. They say, they might just be virtual now. One, is that also gonna happen? Do you think that is the way it would be? And how do you create that relevance, which I was trying to understand, once the live events open up? How do you stay that relevant as you are now?
So, Ruhail, there's always a difference in different sort of events. So basically there are internal events and there are marketing events. So some events which a corporate does for, let's say, an internal team or something, which are gonna be preferred to have online. So there are gonna be some sort of an event, there are type of different type of events, right? So when there is an event for a marketing purpose or something where they have to really interact with the customers or something, which will really take place offline, but there are a lot of different type of events which will be preferred to have online, first thing. And second, as I mentioned, there's always a very important part of webinars. A lot of corporate does webinars. A lot of pharma corporate does webinars, right? So that is also in part which is going to be crucial and important, which a lot of other corporates will be doing. Again, the key will be to have more better engagements and to have much more better ROI points over there. So that is something will be reflected upon, but that will be staying. That is what I'm saying.
Mr. Joshi, final words on finding that piece of relevance once,
I
in the hybrid economy.
I think virtual events are here to stay and they will transform themselves. We will see different kind of virtual events, the way digital strategy is used. But I also think all of what marketers have learned, great things that come out of virtual events, virtual tech, event tech, they will try and bring it to physical events. They would want us to provide them with analytics. They would want us to allow people who can't travel to be there. Somehow they would want to use technologies like augmented reality. So there are many great things that have happened in virtual events, and marketeers will push us to deliver those in the physical or the hybrid events, what we say. And virtual events itself, who choose to go for virtual events will completely get transformed.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this insightful discussion.